Hi, my name is Dorothy Adela Mann Chater. I go by Adela Mann, but my legal name is Dorothy Chater. I'm 20 years old, and my big aspiration in life is to be on the Supreme Court of the United States. I have been into law and being a judge and a prosecutor since I was in middle school. And someone that really contributed to that was Ruth Bader Ginsburg, who currently sits on the Supreme Court. She was sworn in 1993, and since then and even before then, has been a really big influencer when it comes to women's rights and someone who has paved some of the way for people to really start discussing these issues. One of her famous cases that she argued at the Supreme Court before she was on it had to do with paid leave, and it was discrimination against a man. And so she kind of found this niche of, now you guys will probably understand this because you can relate to this more. So that's just something that I love about her. Growing up, my mom showed me all these pictures from her 20s and early 30s of her watching or marching on in Washington, D.C. for the right to have an abortion, for equal pay, all of these things that are still so relevant today that she never would have imagined would still be a topic for conversation. And so I got introduced to all of these things pretty young. I remember when I was watching Disney movies when I was however old you are when you start doing that, and just asking, why is it always someone being saved, and why is that someone always a woman? Why doesn't she help herself? Why do they kill off the mother or make the mother figure this evil, person, and how sisters are supposed to hurt you and hinder, honestly, your life and your experience instead of coming together. And I think that's a really big theme even today of women competing to be equal, but not accepting other women. And that I feel like leads into, this idea of white feminism, which I completely agree with. At the Women's March not too long ago, there was a sign, and it was, if Hillary was elected, then I would be having brunch right now. And it's just kind of like, okay, well, just because if, a white woman becomes president, yes, it's amazing for women, and maybe things will actually happen in this country, but, to the same extent, there's still a lot of other issues to be talked about for people of color and minority groups that maybe you don't identify with, but you should still help and be an ally for. So it's all very interesting. Something that I'm really extremely passionate about is the criminal justice system. I'm a criminal justice major with a women's and gender studies minor, but something that I think is just so wrong is how our system is so broken, in the sense that, you can be shot for what you look like, and you can have your constitutional rights taken away based on the color of your skin, and not because you're a convicted felon. And you could become a convicted felon because of your skin, and then you really have constitutional rights taken away. Something that really sparked that was, hearing all of these cases in the news of, another cop shoots another unarmed African-American man, and nothing happens about it. There's no justice in it. There's no sense, honestly, in it. Because the fact of the matter is that, you should be trained to handle situations and not escalate them. That's what the police are supposed to be trained to do. De-escalate situations and be someone that people can call and come to. There are so many times in my classes and my life experiences where, African American and, minority groups will say, I'm not going to call the police. Why would I? They'll try to charge me with something else. And it's just so fascinating to me how, we have this system and this hardcore American value in the police and this trust in the police that you're supposed to be able to come to them when you're scared or when something's wrong or when you need help. And the fact that a large number of people in this country don't feel like they can do that is an issue that, the government hasn't addressed, or police stations hasn't, addressed that. And I think that that is a huge issue. And that's really why I want to go into law and, from a prosecutor's perspective, because, I can go in and choose the cases that get followed through. A lot of people think that, the judge has the most power, but in reality, it's the prosecutor who has the most power because they can decide whether to pursue a case or not pursue a case. So I think that I could do some help there. Another issue that I am super passionate about is rape culture and sexual assault. I took a domestic violence class actually last semester and learned a lot about this and how common it is and how that's awful. And, especially being on a college campus and you hear all the time, oh, like I was so drunk last night and like, what's his face was over. It's just kind of like, do you remember it? If not, even if you had alcohol, you can't do that. Trying to make people see that and have conversations, really like intense, heartfelt conversations about, what, like, where's consent, where you draw the line. And, to the guys that I know, even being like, hey, like, this is what you should do in this situation, or this is how you're coming off right now, is just, I think a lot can be done if people actually started having honest conversations with themselves and with other people around them instead of just letting it fly. Something that was really interesting to me with this class is that these group of people did a presentation on, African American women and domestic violence and sexual assault, because there are these so many layers to it that, the police are already locking up our men. Why would you contribute to that? Why would you do this? And, being beaten and sexualized and being forced to do things you don't do is so common that your community goes against you instead of support you. And it was so fascinating to me. And like, my whole thing is that I do not claim or try to act like I relate or can fully understand the issues that minority women go through, especially in this country. And I think that there are so many people who try to be like, oh, like, I understand where you're coming from. And like, the reality of it is like, no. Like, were your people enslaved? No. Have you had to go through all this and are still persecuted by our government? No. So my whole thing is to not try to rationalize with what people go through, but instead to be an ally and use what you can to help this inequality that's going on and recognize it. And a lot of people don't at all, and it's insane to me. I'm running out of time, but basically, at the end of the day, I believe that your life is all based in your experiences. What you choose to create for yourself is the experience you're going to have in life. And if you try to take that away from someone and take away opportunity and experiences for someone and don't recognize that, you're contributing to a larger picture when you do that, like, you're a part of the issue. And like, you're just taking away opportunity from someone, and you're not being an ally. You're not, creating great change. You're not doing anything right by anyone to just sit there and be hateful and mean. So that's a little bit about me. I hope you enjoyed watching this, and I'm very, very excited about this class and to learn more about African American feminism and to really learn the roots of it and where do we go from here to truly make our society recognize that we are not equal right now and how to fix that. So yeah, have a great day or night depending on what time you're watching this, and I'll see you in the discussion.